If you put eggs, sugar, flour and butter in a bowl, stirred it up and put it in the oven, what would you expect to come out? A cake, of course. The results of what it looks like may differ, but you'd expect a cake all the same. So how about translating this concept into your life? In this episode, I discuss the idea of how what you put into the mix of motherhood and then what you expect to get out of it can differ, as well as talking about my 3 ingredients to be a happy, thriving mum. Welcome to the Happy Thriving Mums podcast, the show that talks about the simple actions busy mums like you can take to prioritise your own health, happiness and fitness. And it doesn't stop there. This show also includes amazing stories from remarkable women who help others to be the best version of themselves. Because if you feel great, you thrive, and so does your family. So, if you're ready to overcome mum guilt, manage overwhelm, feel and look your best, and create a happier, more balanced life for yourself and your family, this podcast is for you. Hello! This week I look at the idea of reality versus expectations. Before I became a mum, I think I expected motherhood to be a whole range of things. To name but a few, I had a few different expectations. I thought baby sleep. Weaning is straightforward. I'd have loads of time to do stuff as my baby napped. I wouldn't let my children have screen time in restaurants, and that baby groups and NCT groups, that kind of thing, would be the place where I make lifelong friends, and we'd all go out together and we'd all be drinking wine and talking about how wonderful our children are. However, this was not the case, okay? I thought of endless cuddles, picture perfect moments, and then it really hit me. There's a lot of things that people just did not warn me about. The things I didn't consider include things like how emotional I would become. I was not an emotional person. In fact, amongst my friends when I was younger, I was known as being very unemotional to the point of I probably needed a bit more emotion. But I didn't realise that motherhood would make me more emotional. I didn't realise how tired I would be and how this tiredness and general underlying fatigue quite often is always there. I also didn't consider how having children changes the relationship with your partner. I also found that you might not have an immediate bond with your baby. There's these stories of like absolutely falling in love with your child straight away as soon as you see them. But actually, that doesn't always happen. I also didn't know that I would start and come to realise what true, unrelenting, unconditional love is and feels like. And I really didn't realise how tired I'd be. But I think I mentioned that one already, right? I think regardless of the courses, the books, the chats with friends, whatever it is that you do to prepare yourself to become a parent, nothing truly prepares you for having children. My dad has said it to me before. He says, you have to pass a test to drive a car, but anyone can be a parent. You learn on the job. And he is so right. I think the expectation of what I thought it was going to be like to be a mum versus what it actually is like being a mum were a bit wonky, to say the least. There was no synergy to a degree. Some bits of it, and I don't know if you can relate to this, are better than I could have imagined. There's some amazing parts to being a mum and a parent, and the feelings you get and what you see and the experiences and adventures that you have. Whilst there are other parts which I think I have found a massive shock to the system. And I think it is so relentless sometimes that you need to adjust and react to situations and just deal with what is in front of you again and again and again. And a lot of what you do, dealing with your children on a daily basis or going into schools or whatever it is, can be trial and error, right? Because you don't really know if you're doing the right thing. It's an ongoing process of learning and expanding and practicing. And I think quite often one of the biggest things you're practicing is just remaining calm, taking those breaths and trying to stay calm in all challenging conditions, because I think some of the things that we do go through as a parent are pretty challenging. And I think that sometimes even highly trained SAS personnel would struggle with the conditions that parents have to deal with on a daily basis. I think that's why when you see things like, what's that, celebrity SAS TV show, and when they're having the interrogations and they are just given, like, through those headphones, babies crying, people crack. And I think we've all been there with a baby, whether you had a baby which was a good sleeper, a chilled out baby, a happy baby, whatever they are. There are times for all parents where that baby will not stop crying and you just don't know what to do. But what you do as a parent is every single day you show up. You show up and you do your best. And that is amazing. It is pure resilience at its finest. And I think we all need a medal for that. We don't get it, but that's fine. But I think you need to then just kind of roll with the punches. Because what you then find is the next challenge is when you think you've finally nailed something and you're getting it right and there's something that's working, something else changes. Your child starts to go off a certain interest that they had. So maybe they loved a certain book or certain toys and they would play with them all of the time. And then they are immediately out of fashion, never to be touched or looked at again. I think the one that I find so frustrating is one day they absolutely love a particular food. So my daughter, but actually both my kids, I did, like, when I was weaning them, we did a mixture. I did a mixture of mashed up foods and a mixture of kind of like the whole foods for them to eat. And I did loads and loads of vegetables. And they really like vegetables. But then all of a sudden, certain vegetables have now become absolutely disgusting. And they will no longer want to touch it, eat it, even have it on their plate. And you just think, how does this happen? And then one day, they no longer want to hold your hand walking to school. And that breaks your heart. But you grow bigger, you grow stronger, you mitigate the challenges, and you move forward because we have to do it, right? You can't hold on to these things. You have to keep going. And as our children get a bit older and a bit more independent, we get more of a chance to start reclaiming our sense of self and moving forwards in our own way. So whilst you're navigating, again, another change with the children and what's happening, you start to see these slight glimmers of kind of, I don't know, I was going to say hope that you can start to kind of think about yourself again. And I think for me, this took a while. And I think it's really only been in the past 18 months, with my children now at 5 and 7, that I have finally got the headspace to regroup and start feeling a bit more like I did before I had children. I don't know if you can relate, but I have this little bit of extra space where the kids can now amuse themselves a bit better. They're not in that toddling phase of just everywhere being relentlessly dangerous. Do you know what I mean? When they're first starting to walk and you find all these things that they can fall on, which you never really knew was there. And oh my goodness, those days, they were one of my least favourite times, I think, is that stage when they're learning to walk and pull themselves up and just fall over all the time. Oh, do not bring that back to me. So how can we ensure that in the face of these ongoing challenges and changes that you have as a parent and in this journey with your children, how can we try to remain at our best? Because let's face it, we have days when we are absolutely winning at life and everything is in flow. It feels great. It feels easy. Everyone's easy breezy in a cheery mood. And then we have these other days where things just don't quite go as planned or go on a normal even keel, and we have to learn how to try and react in ways which are actually going to help the situation rather than destroy it and make it an absolute disaster zone. I know that from my experience, I have reacted in some ways to occurrences that happen. And afterwards I was like, oh, I really shouldn't have done that. And I think this is human. We are only human. We are not perfect. And the whole idea of my Happy Thriving Mums podcast is to kind of recognise the fact that parenting and being a mum is not all perfect. It is all kinds of things. It is a human experience. But if we can try and do our best, and if we can try and act in a way which is intentional to help us feel as best we can, I truly think that we can navigate challenges a lot better, and it can help us to thrive, and it can help us to do the best that we can, and therefore everybody around us can thrive too. So I think a lot of it is about being intentional with what we do and how we act. And this can be easier said than done, but there are ways that we can kind of move and be which can help us to do this more easily. So firstly, we can start to look and think about what we expect our days to look like. What do we expect to happen in a given situation, and how do we expect to react? As I have said earlier on in this episode, often expectation and reality can be completely different. As I said in the intro, if you put eggs, sugar, flour and butter into a bowl, you stir it up and you put it in the oven, what would you expect to come out? A cake, of course. So a cake, a delicious cake, and you know with a fair amount of certainty that these ingredients, if you put them all together, will make a cake. But obviously, there are a whole range of variables which come into effect as to how good your cake that you've just baked may come out. Is the oven too hot? Did you stir it enough? Did you stir it too much? Did you put in the right balance of the ingredients? Did you use the decent sized cake tin? Did you bake it for too long or not enough time? You would go through all these motions to try and make it work. But regardless of kind of all of these different variables, you can say with a degree of certainty, whatever you put in, you will get out a cake. So now think about this whole idea, but in your life. What do you put into your life? And what comes out? There's a saying amongst mindset coaches about where focus goes, energy flows. So what you focus on in your life is likely to be the best things that come out, that work out the best within it. So if you spend little time on actually nourishing yourself, looking after yourself, giving yourself adequate time to rest, and remember, rest is doing, it's not pointless, it's so important. If you don't spend time on looking after yourself, how do you expect yourself to feel? How do you expect yourself to show up? And what is the reality of the result if you're not helping yourself and looking after yourself? Will you be a deliciously well-baked Victoria sponge? Or will you end up with a soggy bottom? I think we know the answer, right? Obviously, I'm not saying here to simply focus on yourself at the expense of your children or your job or those around you. Your children especially need you. But happy mums, strong mums, mean happy and strong kids. And to be a happy and strong mum and to try and be the best version of yourself, you need to set your standards high and you need to allow yourself to thrive. So for me, the most important ingredients to be a happy, thriving mum are moving regularly, eating well and nourishing your body and checking on what you consume in general. And finally, allowing yourself to have fun. Putting these 3 ingredients into my life regularly gives me a reality of being able, on most days, because I'm not saying my life is perfect because it is far from perfect, but by allowing myself and giving myself the grace to try and put these 3 things into my life as often as I can, I show up as a better person, a better wife, and a better mum. And that to me is really, really important. For me, they are fundamental to my physical and mental health. And if I take any of these out of the equation, I still function, but I'm just not functioning at my best. So I try to prioritize these 3 ingredients and prioritize them daily. And I know that might sound a bit boring if I'm exercising every day or eating really well every day, and it is a bit repetitive, but it is vital. And I find them vital for me. And by doing this, I can show up for myself and I can show up for everybody else. And it just works. So I'd like to share it with you guys and I'd like you to try it. Think about the 3 ingredients that would work for you, because these are my 3 and they might not work for you, but I think they're really good ones. So here are 3 ideas for you to incorporate these 3 ingredients into your life a bit more and hopefully with ease. as let's face it, we have no time for messing around. We don't want to be wasting time making really difficult meals and all of that. And I don't adhere to that because I'm all for making things simple and effective. Remember, these 3 ideas are just ideas. You don't have to do all of them. Pick one and try it. And if it sounds interesting to you, have a go and see how it makes you feel and see what the outcome is. So, here is my first idea. Move more. So number 1 is move more. Movement is so vital for our health. It keeps our bones and our joints healthy, as well as helps with our heart, our circulation, and our mental health too. So try to move in some way every single day, whether it's a daily walk or it's a brain break every hour or so. If you're working, get up, go for a walk around. 5 minutes of moving can be so helpful. Even doing something like habit stacking. So whilst you're making a cup of tea or a coffee, you could just kind of by the kettle do some squats or some press ups if you so choose. Up to you, but try and do something which all works together and you don't have to go out of your way to do anything extra. If you do want to, doing some kind of like quick home workout is really good, or going for a jog or cycling. Pick something that you like. It doesn't have to be hard. It just needs to be a level of kind of movement which allows for some exertion, which gets you a little bit out of breath and makes you function better. So my idea number 1 is to move more. My second idea is to think about what you consume and how you nourish your body, but also your mind. So like with the cake example, what you put in is what you get out. You are what you eat, as the saying goes. So if you are missing out vital nutrients which can be found in fruit and veg, you may feel sluggish. If you're not eating enough starchy carbohydrates to fuel your body, you may be feeling tired. If you're not eating enough protein, you might feel hungry and you might feel a bit grumpy, because protein helps to fill you up and it also helps to grow and protect your muscles. So it's really important that we get enough protein in our bodies. So make sure what you're eating, there's an idea of this 80 to 20 rule. So 80% of the time you're eating well, eating healthily, 20% of the time you let yourself have treats or eat something which maybe doesn't have such high nutritional value behind it. So you could maybe go by that rule, or just be really mindful of what you're eating and make sure that you are generally eating well. I've got various episodes of the podcast which has got kind of outlines of what we should be eating and what the right amounts of nutrients are in the diet. So go back and have a look at some of these, have a listen, get some ideas from that. The other idea in thinking about what you consume is about what you are putting into your life. Think about social media scrolling. Think about who you spend your time with. Think about what you watch on TV or you listen to. Thinking about all of these things can be a bit overwhelming because sometimes there is a lot of negativity and toxicity which is kind of put around on social media. In the news especially, the news is often so sad. And I'm not saying completely ignore what's going on in the world, but you can curate what you watch, what you listen to, what you see, and who you spend your time with. And by doing this, it can change and affect how you view the world and how you view other people. So do maybe a mini audit, for want of a better word, of what you consume. Is there anything there that's a little bit toxic and that you could do without? If the answer is yes, try to modify this, reduce it, or eliminate it completely. Taking little steps to do this, going through who you follow on Instagram, for example, and getting rid of people that don't serve you is a great thing to do. And actually, when you start to kind of curate what you are consuming, you feel different. It can make you feel so much better. If you fill that space with positivity and things which inspire you, actions and ideas and pictures and things which really light you up, it can change how you feel and how you show up. So looking at what you consume through your diet, but also what you're putting into your life through looking at social media, what you watch on TV, that kind of thing can really affect you. So that is my second ingredient for being a happy, thriving mum. Consume things which light you up and make you feel great. And my third thing, the third ingredient to becoming a happy, thriving mum is to allow yourself to have more fun. Allow yourself more fun. Give yourself the chance to do things that you love, to be silly with your children, to have fun with them, to mess around, to play games, to just kind of like relive a youthful experience. Playing is so important. We know that children learn through play, and why not adults? Why do we stop playing? I think that's why sport is so brilliant, because you are playing at sport, you are reacting, you are living a suspended reality for a little bit of time whilst you are focusing on a game that you're playing or something like that. It's really, really important. Do something which allows you to have fun. Treat yourself. You only get one life, so make it amazing. So, by taking the time to really think about what you are putting into your life and your day and choosing this really carefully, you can make such a difference to what you are able to put out into the world, to give to your children, to give to your family, to show up and be the best version of yourself. So, what might you try to do a little bit more of? Might you try and move a little bit more? Might you review what you are consuming and make adjustments? Or might you just try to have a little bit more fun? Whatever you try, I am sure it will benefit you. And if you do all of these things already and want some other ideas, reach out. I'd love to hear from you because I've got a few other things that I can share. Thank you so much for listening. Please click follow to never miss an episode, and also tell your friends, because I want to build a community of happy, thriving mums who build each other up, cheer each other along, and support each other every step of the way in this complete whirlwind that we call motherhood. Have a brilliant day.